Hey guys, it's JC Theater Yu-Gi-Oh! Here today, and I'm coming at you with a generator deck profile for you guys. Now this is an update to my last list to include some Eternity Code support that they got. Let's just jump into it. So first up, let's go over the generator monsters. Now I understand usually that generators run a small amount of the level 9s, but I kind of embrace the level 9s, so just keep that in mind since I do have quite a few generators, such as 2 generator Boss of Delusion. Now all generator level 9 monsters have an effect revolving around either generators or a monster of the same type they are. For conciseness, I'm just going to say tribute generators or like interact with generators, but just know they also apply to the same type as them. So for instance, Boss of Delusion, you can only control one of each of the generator boss monsters, and he has a quick effect where you contribute 2 generator monsters to target one card on the field and banish it. I run 2 of this guy because I do find that it's pretty good in terms of like a quick spot removal. It's almost like an ABC Buster Dragon. Next up, I play 2 copies of our Searcher of the deck, Mardell Generator Boss of Light. On summon, she actually searches a generator monster. I play 2 copies, but of course you want to see her as much as possible because she is the searcher of the deck. So that's why, in addition to playing the 2 Mardell, I do play 3 Lone Fire Blossom, which allows us to bring out Mardell since Mardell is a plant. So we just, summon the first Lone Fire, tribute for the next Lone Fire, tribute for the third Lone Fire, and then bring out Mardell. Or if you understand you're playing a grindy opponent, the Mardell can actually search another Lone Fire to your hand if you want to go that route, or just, use a single Lone Fire straight into Mardell. It's up to you. That's just the common play with that. Now, fresh from Eternity Code, I am playing the 3 copies of our only normal summon of the generator monsters, which is 3 LOPTR Shadow of the generator bosses. Now, he is really interesting. What he does is you can only control, again, 1 copy of him, and all generator monsters you control gain 1,000 attack and defense during your opponent's turn, aka this helps protect your tokens during the battle phase, and of course your other generators, but they're pretty beefy to begin with. And during the main phase, as a quick effect, you contribute 1 generator monster to special summon 1 level 9 generator monster with a different name from your deck. So basically, you don't have to tribute a generator monster, an actual card, but you contribute one of the tokens that are brought out from the field spell on your opponent's turn. So he's able to cycle out another generator. Ultimately, very good. It does sometimes seem like more of a win more card, but ultimately I think that he is a very good card, especially since this deck has the space to add another normal summon into it. And just to tutor this out a little quicker, since like I said his effect is really decent, I do play the 3 copies of Condemned Witch, which basically during your opponent's turn you contribute her in order to special summon out LOPTR from your deck because he is a fairy type. Going forward, this is kind of like a spicy option I'm working with right now since LOPTR is a pretty new addition to the deck. Condemned Witch, I don't run any Forbidden Quick Play spells in the deck, but if you want to play some Forbidden Lance or something like that to get the most utility out of Condemned Witch, since on her summon during your turn, you get to search a Forbidden Quick Play, and then on your opponent's turn, you tribute her to bring out the LOPTR. So to just go over the one of level 9 monsters of the deck, we are playing the 1 Har, which he has 2 effects actually, the one being the tributing actually 2 monsters in order to negate your opponent's card activations, and then he has another effect where once per turn if your opponent adds a card from the deck to the hand, except during the draw phase, you can make your opponent send 1 monster from their hand or field to the graveyard. Sadly, I don't find this too useful since this basically lets your opponent set up a little bit, but his effect to negate card activations is actually quite good. In addition, we play the 1 Needhog because he negates special summons. We play the 1 Develgus, which is basically a tribute to special summon out a generator from the hand, and then 1 Hela, which is a tribute to special summon 1 generator from the graveyard. The final level 9 I play in the main deck isn't a generator, but I get such generator vibes from it that I had to include it and test it out, is Trias Hierarchia. Now, this is interesting because its effect during the main phase, if it's in your hand or graveyard, as a quick effect, you contribute up to 3 fairies to special summon it. Then it's banished when it leaves the field, and then you can apply the following effects in sequence depending on the number of tributed monsters. So if you tribute 2 or more, you can destroy 1 card your opponent controls, and then if you tribute all 3, you draw 2 cards. The reason why I am trying to really fit this card into the deck is because the tokens that we summon through the field spell are actually fairy attribute or fairy typed. So we basically get a bunch of free fairies that leave our field during your opponent's end phase anyway. So during your opponent's main phase, we just bring this out, get to destroy a monster, as well as get to draw 2 cards and have a pretty decent body on board. So ultimately, I think it's definitely an option for the deck for sure. To round off the monsters, just for the hand traps, I am playing, main decking anyway, 3 Ash Blossom, and these are the only hand traps I'm main decking, but of course they go hand in hand traps, as well as the 3 anti-hand traps, aka 3 Called by the Grave here. Now on to the rest of these spells. I play 3 Kujikiri Curse, which is the best draw spell I've found for the deck, which is you discard or send from your field to the graveyard a level 9 monster in order to draw 2 cards, and it is a hard once per turn, sadly. The issue I have with this, of course, is the fact that all of your generators you do want to be in your deck for the most part to bring them out. Hela is the only graveyard recursion we have, so other than Monster Reborn. So basically, if you use any generator you use with Kujikiri Curse is basically gone from the duel for the most part, if that makes sense. Going forward, I really want to test out if I ever get my hands on copies of Pot of Extravagance, because even though the extra deck is an interesting tool for the deck, since we have such beefy boss monsters, hence the name generator boss monsters, in the deck, in the main deck anyway, the extra deck, you could probably work out a variant that doesn't rely on the extra deck much. But for now, this is the draw engine of my choice. Also, maybe Dark World Dealings could be an option, but I just kind of don't like giving my opponent any advantage. Additionally, for some one-ofs, some power plays is the 1 Monster Reborn, and 1 Raigeki, and 1 Terraforming for the very powerful field spell, Generator Boss Stage. You definitely want this out as soon as possible because it allows you to, once per turn, if a card is added from the main deck to your opponent's hand, aka their draw phase, you can special summon 1 generator monster from your deck in defense position. And if you special summon a generator monster during your opponent's turn, you can special summon as many generator tokens, which are level 4 light fairies with 1500 attack and defense. You summon as many as possible of them in attack position, but destroy them during the end phase of the turn. So that's why you try to do as many plays as possible during your opponent's turn with these tokens, because the generators do tribute monsters for their effects, but the generators have quick effects, so that's why you're able to do a lot of plays on your opponent's turn, which definitely helps disruption as well. In addition, since this is a level 9 deck, we play 3 World Legacy Monstrosity, which is good because you either special summon 1 level 9 monster from your hand, or you target 1 level 9 monster you control and special summon from your deck 2 level 9 monsters with different original type and attribute than that face-up monster on the field and from each other. This is actually really good because all of the generators have different types and attributes, so that's why this card is very synergistic. The first effect actually doesn't go off much, because you don't want your generators much in the hand. If you do, you're probably using them with a Kujikiri Curse. But additionally, it also sometimes, again, just like LOPTR, feels like a win more card in the sense that you already have a generator on field. But it just leads to some extension and to really push for game for the most part. Now for the traps, we play 3 World Legacy Awakens, which basically lets us perform a Link Summon on our opponent's turn. This is really good because we do have those tokens to use, as well as just in general do some disruption on our opponent's turn. If you have, I'm just going to do a spoiler alert, I don't have a copy of IP Masquerena. If you had a copy of her, I think you could probably either cut this card or at least put it down to like one copy, because IP Masquerena kind of allows you to do similar things to what this allows you to do. In addition, we have the 3 generator boss fight and 1 metaverse, and the reason why I say this together is because of course metaverse it's a trap card that adds your field spell to your hand or lets you activate it, whereas generator boss fight actually you activate your generator field spell and then immediately afterwards your opponent draws a card. What this boss fight does is actually has your field spell already established and immediately lets it activate its effect because your field spell goes off once your opponent draws a card. So it makes your field spell automatically live. Of course, you don't want to give your opponent resources, but that's just the drawback from being able to play the field spell as consistently as possible. So for the extra deck, we just have some rank 9s to go into, such as the classic Phantom Fortress here, Infinitrack Earth Slicer, and True King of All Calamities, and as well as 9 Lives Cat, and the Generator Extra Deck monster, which is Jorgamundir, Generator Boss of Eternity. Now he takes 2 or more level 9 monsters, and you can only control one of him, just like the main deck monsters, and his original attack and defense, because the number of its materials times 1,000, and he has a quick effect where you can detach a material from him. Each player draws a card, and then each player that drew attaches 1 card from their hand or field to Boss of Eternity as a material, which actually is pretty good because even though your opponent is still gaining a resource, they still have to get rid of something, and since it's not just going straight to the graveyard to set up their graveyard, you're able to keep it attached for a little bit. It's not the best, but I just find it interesting, especially since you get a draw as well, and ultimately those resources get fed back to you for an extra 1,000 attack and defense for this guy. For the links, I just play some classic lineups of the Nightmare Cerberus, Phoenix, and Unicorn. I play, which I don't really go into much, but I do play the World Gears of Theological Demergy because it does take 3 level 5 or higher monsters. So since we play so many obviously higher than level 5 monsters, I found that it's a very potentially you're able to summon it, like where it's possible. So I definitely I try to work it in as much as possible. And for some power links, we just have, the Borreload, the Boral Sword, and the Avramax. And then the final link I'm working with right now is Lib, the World Key Blade Master, because if you have the Awakening in your graveyard, or if you have the World Legacy spell card, whose name escapes me, Monstrosity, you're able to summon her, and then you can search on her summon either a World Legacy Monstrosity or a World Legacy Awakens. You can't use it that same turn if you don't have a World Legacy monster in your graveyard, but for the trap you won't be able to use it that turn anyway, and for the spell we can just use it on our turn, no problem. So this is ultimately something that I think works well as a little spicy option in the extra deck. Let me know what you guys think about it. So that's been So this has been my little generator deck profile for you guys. Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. Make sure to subscribe. I have lots of other content on here that doesn't involve deck profiles if that's not necessarily your thing. So check that stuff out. Thank you guys so much. I'm JC Theater Yu-Gi-Oh! See ya!